We've got a spooky Halloween episode for you this week. First, we're going to talk about the scary declining ratings of late night television. Then, we get to our case when we talk about horror movies and horror games and whether you should sacrifice the fun of being scared for the sake of a child. Stay tuned. What you are listening to is real. The parties involved are not cool. They are actual geeks with a case pending in the court of public opinion. The party's case has been dismissed, and the dispute will be settled here on our podcast. There will be no lawyers. There will be no witness testimony. The judge's decisions are final.
Hello, I'm Judge Ivan.
I'm Judge Jonathan, and this is Geeks on Trial. Today's case, Hauntless House.
Hello and welcome to Geeks on Trial. This is the podcast where we settle petty disputes between actual geeks over movies, video games, board games, and more. If you'd like to submit your own geeky case for a future episode, you can email us at geeksontrial@gmail.com. And if you'd like to help support the show over on Patreon, just give us some money, head on over to patreon.com/geeksontrial. And that's where you can go and have fun. And, happy Halloween, Jonathan.
Oh, happy Halloween. Oh, I'm eating some candy right now. Gobble, gobble.
You do realize there is video of this
delicious.
show.
No, not everybody's watching that. So they won't see all the candy I'm eating. Gobble, gobble.
Oh, you're eating a gobbler?
Delicious.
Your Halloween gobbler?
This is one of those new hot chocolate potato pieces. I'm going gobble.
The fuck does that mean?
Hey, with the language, kids are watching this. I advertise this. Yes, I'm titling this video for kids. Kids,
Only?
come watch. You'll love this.
Oh.
Kids for Kids is the title.
Kids for kids.
Wow. Halloween's upon us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so scared this week. Every day I'm going outside. I'm seeing ghosts, skeletons, black cats, witches.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shivering. I'm shaking. I'm trembling. I'm breaking down, crying in the middle of the store. I see a bag of candy and I have a panic attack.
How is that different than any other day for you?
Well, because there's I'm wearing a costume while I'm doing it.
Oh, well, you don't wear your costume all the time?
I wear my costume to appear as human amongst the
your
normies.
human costume. Yes.
Sort of like how Dexter pretends to be normal and not a weird serial killer man.
Right. That's a Dexter costume. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they sold the Dexter costume at Spirit Halloween that just consisted of a t-shirt and like pants. That's probably it. It's probably the basic man costume. Here it is.
Well, he had to have the glasses and the red
blood.
hair.
Probably came with blood. An axe. We're thinking of two different Dexters, aren't we? Huh.
Yeah, I was thinking of Dexter Jetster.
Oh, no. He's your next door neighbor, right?
He owns a diner. We don't have time to talk about this kind of nonsense.
Right, because, there's shows ending. There are shows physically ending in front of our eyes that have been iconic late-night shows for like 70 years, 60 years, and they're slowly fading away. Jonathan.
Yeah.
These shows are slowly fading away. The late night talk shows are taking a big dip in ratings. I don't know if you've heard this lately.
I have heard this.
The Tonight Show with James Fallon is only 4 nights a week now. 4 nights a week.
Yeah.
That's probably not.
It used to be
five nights a week. They took a night away. I guess he was also on SNL, so he might have been on like 6 nights a week. I don't know. He
wasn't on SNL the same time he was doing late.
Well, if he was a guest host, maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
So
perhaps.
So over the past few years, the late night shows, which consist of the Late Show, the Tonight Show, the show,
Jimmy Kimmel,
Jimmy Fallon, David Letterman's gone. Who else?
It's really the three.
Conan.
Conan's got it's Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, and I guess if you count the Daily Show, that's.
Well, and then you have the late shows too, the ones that are on after.
Infomercials? I don't know what that is.
It's like used to be like
Seth Meyers.
Seth Meyers. Who's after? Oh, I guess there is really nobody on CBS anymore. They've made that like it's now at midnight is on at after the Tonight Show or whatever Colbert show is. But yes, these shows are slowly fading away, and I find it to be very interesting. There's a percentage on there that says
Yes.
The audience members, the ratings drop 32%, and that's a pretty big chunk
In the
of
last, specifically for Colbert in the last 5 years.
But the rest, if you read that article, the rest aren't really far behind, and they're all kind of doing the same thing. I'm not sure who was big in the ratings at that point, but really Colbert, I think, was the leader because, especially during election season, this is huge too because a lot of these shows have election specials. Colbert's, late night shows are more so now about politics than they've ever been, which might also be an issue too. But they are dipping more now during election season, which is kind of unusual because usually in election season, a lot of these shows are like Saturday Night Live and stuff like that peak because they are the ones who make fun of the politics and call them out or, have Donald Trump on your late night show.
Yeah. You rustle his hair
right.
a little bit.
Yeah. And then be
You
like,
tell him
oh,
he's a
I
good
hate
boy.
Donald Trump a year later. It's great.
They all do it.
James Jimmy Fallon there, folks.
That's right. His full name's not James. Come on, it's Jimmy. he was born
a
Jimmy.
Jimmy. He was born a douche. Yes.
Yeah, it's a strange thing, although not that strange. I mean, it actually is completely understandable. I think
it's actually more than understandable. I feel like
it's necessary.
I feel like if they're still on the air, the show of middle-aged white men, it's kind of weird that they're still.
Yes, I mean, we are really the last generation that grew up watching these shows, and even our generation didn't really grow up watching these shows. Nothing, it's the peak of it was Johnny Carson. We do not have this time anymore, and we haven't for many years where everyone was united watching the same stuff all the time.
Yeah, I would say the giant peak of this was probably like the early 80s. Like Carson was huge, and then you had Letterman doing the stuff for the college kids at 12:30. And SNL being on the weekends because that started around then, and that was the peak of late night television. That just faded.
You had still through the 90s and early 2000s. It's really the internet. I mean, like everything else, like all of television media.
Right.
There's just no point to these things anymore because there used to be. You needed to watch the late night shows because you would find out what movies were coming out. Right. Like you'd hear from the celebrities being interviewed, or you'd know a new album was coming out because the musical guest.
Or it's the only place you would see an interview with anybody. Like there wasn't like just interview clips. There weren't podcasts. There weren't YouTube. Basically, there weren't YouTube.
So yeah, there's really no. It is YouTube, and now even more so TikTok. Right. One of the things I was thinking of is part of the appeal of these shows was feeling like you are, you have a parasocial relationship with these talk show hosts,
right?
Because you see them almost every single night. If you're a regular viewer, you know the running jokes, you know some of their things they talk about in their life. You get this kind of attachment to them.
Right.
That's right. You fall asleep with them every night, staring at them. But we have that now with just influencers. That's just. Right. That's TikTok, that's YouTube. You can still, or podcasts even, you can get that kind of relationship that way, and you don't need it on your television with a cable service that most people don't have anymore. Have you ever watched any of the streaming? Like Netflix has tried this a couple times and it's always failed to do.
The only thing I ever saw that worked because it was taking the show Talk Soup and putting it online was the Joel McHale show. Which was basically,
you say it worked, it got canceled.
It worked for me.
Yeah.
Because the thing for a lot of these shows is, the late night shows really were on at a specific time every night. And since I haven't had cable myself in many a years, and I don't stick to, I have to watch something at 11, 11:30. I need to stay up and be in these specific hours and time frames where it's like, if I want to watch an interview with somebody, I could watch it at 3 o'clock in the morning, noon, it doesn't matter when it's on. And I don't need to I need to watch, Jack Hanna come out and do animal stuff to see an interview with, I don't know, Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm just trying to think of people.
Yep. Jake Gyllenhaal. Yep. He's out there.
Yep. But so it's it's another construct of the past of where it's I don't need to specifically stay up and watch these things. For us, certain late night shows were kind of a big deal when we were in our teens and early 20s. We were big watchers of The Daily Show and The Colbert Report back in the heydays of them. Conan O'Brien was a pretty late night with Conan O'Brien was a pretty big thing that we would watch almost every night. Even like we went and got live tickets to see him in his studio. For even Colbert, we did that as well. Like I feel like that's the age of peak for these shows. Are people in their teens to even 30, maybe. But now,
or like 70-year-olds.
Right. There's definitely like there's a gap. Like once you hit like I think like 30 to like 60, you kind of forget these exist.
Well, it depends because like Conan specifically really appealed to younger viewers,
Right.
and I think that was kind of new for maybe. I guess Letterman to an extent did
Right.
that too, but I think before then and since then. It's, I guess Jimmy Fallon and like James Corden with the carpool stuff. Like they all tried to capture it. Yeah, maybe it's more moms, but yeah, there's different people have different audiences and everything. But
I definitely feel like maybe you can prove me wrong with this. But like when we were watching Conan and even like Letterman and stuff, they did talk about politics. Like there was some political jokes, but they weren't necessarily political shows. Where I feel like now in the last maybe 10 years, more so Colbert, but a lot of the other ones, the one that's after Fallon, they're basically political shows.
Colbert 100%. I mean, I think that was his shtick before he did a regular late night. So I guess he just, it's what he's comfortable with.
Right.
And he that's sort of his angle. Like that's sort of what makes him different from the other ones. And Seth Meyers, I feel like does it more so too, but
that's also kind of what he did on like
Weekend
Update. He basically took his Weekend Update and made it into a show, more or less.
Right. I do think that's a big part of it, but I also think it's interesting you mentioned the Daily Show because I haven't looked at specifics of their ratings or anything, but I imagine they are not included in this. If anything, after Jon Stewart has returned, I bet they're doing better than they have in years.
Yeah, I don't think this included like the Daily Show or. Oliver's
it's a different
show.
Kind of thing. Yeah, they're slightly different. I think the biggest thing is no one has changed this formula in like 50 years. Yeah. It's still monologue, sketch, interview, musical guest.
Now Seth Meyers technically doesn't wear a suit anymore. He doesn't do a technical monologue. He kind of sits at his desk and just kind of goes through shit. So he is the one who kind of like shook it up a bit. But you're right. And I kind of made the joke at the top of the show being like, oh, it's still your middle-aged white men, and it is. Like they've they've had options. So like David Letterman was on the air he was on for like 32 years. He left, and they gave it to another middle-aged white man, and it was like they had the opportunity.
What about Samantha Bee?
What was she on?
She had a show. She had a late night show on TBS or something. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, I guess she was like after Conan or something like that, or
maybe. I didn't watch it because, it's a woman.
Right.
And they have no TBS. Place in late night.
Now, what?
Get out of here.
When did you, like, stop watching these late night shows?
When I stopped having cable. I mean, that's
so really you didn't watch, like, Conan on TBS at all, really?
I would sometimes, but it declined drastically from that point. There was definitely when he first went to TBS, I was like, oh, cool. I was still excited. But I mean, when was that? That's so long ago now.
That was at this point, yeah, a while ago.
Like shortly after college, I pretty much tuned out from all of it. Just because of it's just harder to get to. Which wasn't not having cable. It's not on really the streaming services.
And they were really forcing you to like, oh, you need to watch this on cable. There weren't like YouTube clips. There weren't, But now
a lot of it is on YouTube.
Well, because they make now I think the big decline of these shows is they're making a show to be clippable for YouTube, and the people who are watching these shows, the middle-aged people still with cable, don't want that.
It's honestly shocking that so many of them are still around.
I know.
They probably, even with their decline, I bet they still are more reliable than a lot of other non-late night shows.
Right.
But I just feel like it's got to be coming to an end soon. Like, once Jimmy Fallon goes... I mean, The Tonight Show is the big one.
The Tonight Show is the pinnacle of it. That's always been, like, the NBC has their Today Show, their Tonight Show, their SNL. It's also, like, I mean, if we want to wrangle SNL into this, like, they're kind of a late-night show. But, like, they've been on for too long. Like, it's I don't know. But you're right. Like, once Fallon leaves, I feel like they'll all just kind of, like... falter.
I don't. That's the one that I don't know. Like, how much will NBC, because it's called The Tonight Show,
Right.
are they still going to be committed to, like, well, we have to keep it going?
Or they'll make
no
it
matter
something
what?
else. They'll just make it like a bunch of comedians, or I don't know if they will change the
Maybe.
format. They haven't changed the format yet, but I definitely
But the other ones, like Jimmy Kimmel leaves, I don't know if they're replacing Jimmy Kimmel.
No.
I think maybe that's just done.
And he often
You
talks about, like, at the end of a certain contract, he's going to just leave because, like, at this point, I think he's like 50 years old or older. And he's like, I just kind of
Oh,
want to.
they're all that old. I mean, they're all. I think Stephen Colbert's in his 60s.
Which is another weird thing I've brought up before in conversation, that, like, back in the day, like when Conan was on, Conan was like a hungry, like, 30-year-old starting out, and they gave him a show. Like, yeah, he had other careers before that. But the same thing with, like, Letterman, even Jay Leno at that point, where they were all like young comedians. That was their big start. Now all of them are like, they're old men who were just given the show, and it's like they're still filling out the same formula. Where, like, when Conan took over Letterman's spot back in the day, he was young. He was a Simpsons writer. He was doing, like, he had new, fresh ideas of people of this generation. Now we're just kind of like, oh, let's just stretch out and get the replacement of the same age so we don't scare the boomers too much.
Well, it's like every industry in our country that it used to be possible to start something with a fresh face, but now they only are going to tried and true. I mean, I guess Trevor Noah on The Daily Show was kind of a new voice. At least it wasn't somebody that I was, like, familiar with. Was he a correspondent before he hosted?
He might have been something, or stand-up or something, but, like, same thing. But now the Daily Show, they do have, Jon Stewart's on one night a week. So they do bring on newer people every other night of the week. So that's
right.
The Daily Show's always been the one that's been, like, the edgier, newer thing, because it's Comedy Central. They have Viacom money. They can get away with it. And that's another big thing too. It's like, the network TV is kind of just coming to an end too, in general, because, like, it's news, soap operas, and game shows. Good luck. Try to stay afloat.
Yeah. Again, I think podcasts are a big part of it too. And you have so much more opportunity to hear what's a realistic, natural conversation, as opposed to one that's been rehearsed and forced into a 3-minute time span.
Well, yeah, that is the major issue with a lot of these. Like, if they were to move the Tonight Show to Peacock and had, like, you can have a 2-hour show, a 1-hour show, a 30-minute show, that would make it much better, because, like, okay, we need to get your movie in. We need to get, okay, what do you have for breakfast? What are you and your husband doing? Like, there's like 4 questions they ask. And then if they sway off those questions, it's like, okay, we're done for the night. That's it.
Well, that's what David Letterman did, right? He went to Netflix and just started his own just hour-long talk show.
Yep. Just
not really the same. It's not like it's nightly, but...
No, but it's like, whenever he wants to do a show, he'll just be like, oh, I'm going to do an interview Michelle Obama, and we're going to talk for 3 hours. Like, it'll be that kind of show without the constraints of network math behind it. And it also, podcasts are so much better because you have the freedom. Sure, you don't get as much money as a host doing a podcast, patreon.com/geeksontrial, but you also, you have the freedom. You can go on and talk to one person about basically anything you want for as long as you want. You can cuss, you can, you can cuss. You can play musical
from Alabama? Who says that?
You can play, whatever musical cues you want. You don't have to always get clearance for stuff. You don't have the network people behind you. So it's podcasting is the new late night talk show, which is kind of weird because it's like a step backwards in a way.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I still think within our lifetimes we're gonna see late night's gonna go away and cable's gonna go away. I don't know how long it's gonna take.
I definitely think, like, within the next 5 years, we're going to see late night shows just disappear. Not them all together.
I don't know. Yeah.
But like a 32. So if a network sees a 32% drop, that's a lot of money.
But the question is, again, the 32% drop still might be good compared to what else they have. That's the part of the equation, right. I think, is like it's worse, but as long as it's still somewhat profitable, they might be looking at all their other shows and saying it's still the best show.
Now, what do you think of the whole thing of them dropping to 4 nights a week? Like, I feel like what are they replacing that 5th night with? Like reruns?
It makes sense because
it's a new show.
I guess whatever, but like, I get it because most people aren't watching
Stuff on
TV on a
Fridays,
Friday night.
right.
I mean, they are, but more people are going out that night.
Or
And
like,
also,
sports come on. They want to play some sports instead of the nighttime talk show because you get
who
more money from
knows?
sports or something. But
And for hosts, 5 nights a week is so much to
yeah,
ask.
yeah.
Like, just give them a break. Daily Show always did that, I think. I think they were always 4 nights a week that
And
I
I think
remember.
Conan always had 4 news shows a week, and then had a rerun on a
Oh, that
Friday
may
or
be
something
true.
like that.
Yeah, yeah. That
Which was
sounds
always
maybe
great
true.
because like back in the day you couldn't find these episodes, so you wanted to see the reruns, and
Hmm.
but also a lot of it too is like we used to watch, or at least I used to watch these late night shows, not really for the interviews and the music. I used to watch it for like the half an hour of like sketch comedy they would do on their shows, and that really doesn't exist on a lot of these shows anymore, unless they're
That's
playing
called
like
games.
right, unless they're playing TikTok clippable games on their shows now, and that's not the fun. The fun is gone. It's fizzled.
Yeah, yeah.
The
But I
fun,
can't wait to see a TikTok clip of our show.
right? It's a talk show.
That's
We are
sure.
talking,
Why
and
not?
we are
It's a
showing it.
show. We talk.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We will see. We'll check back in 8 or 9 years. We'll
Yep.
see if they're all canceled.
Yep.
If Stephen Colbert is begging for money and food on the street, we'll make a political joke for food.
Yep.
Poor fella. He's gonna be
Ah.
struggling.
He's struggling with those $1 million a year contracts.
Yeah. Maybe he'll be on the street saying "candy, please" on Halloween.
Oh, that's timely.
Mm-hmm. Sort of connects us to our case for that we're doing today.
It's like a segue, if you will.
Yes, in a way, it's sort of like you're getting on a segue and
Mhm.
wheeling into a new subject.
And just running over Stephen Colbert as you do it because he's on the street handing out candy. Or asking for candy? I don't remember.
Yes, but who you don't want to take it from is strangers with candy.
He was on that. That was
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
was,
yeah,
that was
yeah,
a good
yeah.
connection.
Folks, today's case comes to us from the internet. You can
Oh.
find a link in our episode description. Our defendant today is Rob. Every year, Rob gets together with his girlfriend, Heather, on Halloween to carve pumpkins, watch scary movies, and play scary games. All the standard Halloween festivities that you'd love to expect on that special, special day. This year, Heather wants to invite her teenage cousin, but says that he's too young to watch anything really scary. So they're going to cut that part out of the equation. Rob thinks that the cousin has already seen plenty of horror movies, but Heather is firm in her protective choices, leading Rob to request that she not invite her cousin at all, because it sounds like he's going to ruin their fun and their special once-a-year night. As dual judges here on Geeks on Trial, it's now our job to determine whether Rob should be able to enjoy his spooky night no holds barred, or if he needs to put up with some parental guidance.
That was good. I liked it. That was good.
You
It was
did
good
like that
stuff.
one?
Yeah. Let me ask you. You
Thanks for the feedback.
we famously, you and I don't have children. Together, separately, we don't have kids.
Oh no, since last week I did get a couple.
Well, oh, you just acquired them?
Yeah.
Hmm.
You should always check in because you never know when people will get them. So yeah, I do
Oh,
have them now.
You went to Best Buy? You went to your local Best
Embarrassing
Buy?
for you, but yeah, I have. Well, one was from Best Buy,
Okay.
one was from a different place. I can't really say.
Oh, IKEA.
It
So
rhymes with schmospital. I just.
oh, you just you can just walk in there, especially if you're dressed in a Halloween costume. You walk in and go trick or treat. They just throw a little baby in your bag.
I just said I'm a baby nurse. Gimme.
You were dressed as a small nurse.
Are you? Those things are annoying. Do you need to feed them twice a week or less?
Less, yeah.
That's what I thought.
Mainly Mountain Dew and Twinkies. If you want a good, healthy
Not
baby.
giving them my Twinkies.
All right, ho-hos, if you will. Then you can give them a ho-ho.
Well, I don't want to lead them into their future choices that early.
To be Santa Claus, a mall Santa.
Anyway, you're going to ask me a question, I think.
So we don't go trick or treating on the holidays because on Halloween because we don't have the children.
No.
We don't.
Right.
We don't have kids. We don't have things like that. So do you have what? What?
Oh,
No, what?
I don't know. What are the other things like that? We don't have kids or things like that.
I don't know.
What's the other thing?
Cousins. Like we could take cousins out. Like kids that
Okay.
aren't ours, so we don't
Sure,
own.
okay.
We aren't
Okay.
just. We could also just
Neighbors,
go out trick or treating as well, and be that
babysitters, you
weird
could
guy
be-
that goes around the neighborhood trick or treating at the age of 35.
Yeah.
So do you
I'm
like
26.
have Halloween plans? Do you like have a thing you do every year? No, I'm trying to figure out because like I don't have plans.
Traditions.
No, I need plans. What are your plans? I need to this is a trick to see if you're going to do anything that night.
If you're asking, I'm busy.
Okay.
For our listeners, no, I don't. Let's
Or
see. I mean,
traditions,
yeah, traditions that I do every year. Not really. I don't know that I ever did, to be honest with you. Obviously, as a kid, trick or treating every year was the big thing.
When did you stop?
Around 5:30 p.m.
Oh, okay, so as the sun went down because it was too spooky.
Yeah, today. I mean, that's when I stopped.
Oh, wow.
I've been trick or treating since until then.
I mean, it's okay. We're not going to tell people what time it is. It's fine.
I don't. I mean, pumpkins occasionally would be carved.
Okay. Yeah.
Pumpkins occasionally might be decorated, painted, even when I was
Smashed.
a little kid. Sure, if we invited Billy Corgan over, we were always doing that kind of shit.
It was weird.
But not in a way that was like, oh, every year on the weekend before Halloween, my family gets together and we always carve pumpkins and we always watch this movie. It was more like, it happened here and there, but it was never a consistent plan. What about
We
for you?
so as kids we always did like the 2 weeks before Halloween we would go to the pumpkin farm, pick out our pumpkins, carve them that night, put them outside, weather permitting.
I did that with you once.
You did. Yeah, it was a big tradition until my family abandoned me and moved to Florida. It was great. But it's still like we did that up until like I was an adult. Like I would go over to their house and we would go pick up pumpkins and carve them. Basically,
That's nice.
we would go trick or treating. Either I would go with the family or we would go with a group of friends in the neighborhood or whatever. But we like it would basically be that. I stopped probably trick or treating. There was a few gap years, like during maybe high school. We would go out a few times, but then end up at somebody's house. Then college, I didn't do it because it was weird because we were older. Until I moved onto a college campus, then we would all go trick or treating as like a group of just drunk, rowdy college kids. But when you live on a college campus, the township around you just kind of accepts that you're going to get college kids showing up. Because me personally, I don't like if somebody comes to my door dressed in a Halloween costume, you're getting candy. Like there's no age limit to me. As long as you have a Halloween costume on, like
Well,
it's
what
a
are you
fun
gonna
night.
do? Like, no, go away.
Yeah,
like just give some.
I'm gonna call the cops. Like
They could be like you don't know if it's a person with developmental disorder that they
Right. Or
could
just
be
a
lot of
really
things.
tall kid. But still, though,
Just a
it's
really
it's a
three
fun night.
raccoons in a trench coat.
Exactly, it's the Rugrats dressed up in the trench coat. But it's a
Mm-hmm.
fun night. So like, yeah, we would do it during Halloween, during college, and like now it's like we'll find some movies. Maybe sometimes there'll be a movie that's in a theater that we'll go see. Like recently, we just saw Hocus Pocus.
On Halloween or just in general?
Sometimes if there's something good on Halloween, some of the AMC's or local theaters around us will be showing some kind of Halloween movie, and we'll have to go watch it in theaters because it's fun. You get your candy, your treats there.
I've never really done that. I don't think. I've never really been a movie theater on Halloween. Usually, I'm watching horror movies I've seen.
Right. Well, that's
That is
usually
something
what they do.
Yeah.
Like,
If there's a replay or something.
Right.
I see. Yeah. I will watch scary movies and play scary games throughout the month, kind of leading up to it.
Yeah.
And maybe even on Halloween itself, but not in a way that's like, my ritual of the year. I don't really have that kind of feeling about it. Candy, I will buy Halloween candy and I will eat it. And I do not get trick or treaters. I'm in an apartment building. I will just buy it for myself.
well, but my favorite day of the year is November 1st. When all the Halloween candy is 50 to 75% off.
See, but that's the look. I understand that's the rational choice.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
November 1st, I don't want candy anymore. Candy was for yesterday. I'm done with. I don't want it.
You're
Go
done with candy on November 1st.
I'm
You're
done,
not eating.
I'm done with it.
All right,
done
I
with it.
will do a study, and if I see you
Can
with
I
candy,
be honest with you? Can I say something that's like will probably be very controversial?
no. Gay rights,
I don't.
abortion.
I don't. I think Halloween candy is never as good as regular candy.
In what sense? Because
And by that I mean fun size or trick or treat sized portions. E- There's something about it, even for ones that are like ostensibly the same thing, like a Kit Kat bar, like, but it's just 2 instead of 4. I actually think they're a little smaller still.
They're a little shorter.
Yeah, there's something those little changes in formula.
Right.
I don't know. I always love the idea of it, but then I'm eating them, and there's always something about it that just doesn't hit the same as a candy bar.
I know, because you're a size queen. You like the bigger.
Yeah.
You prefer the king size.
If I want Reese's cups, just give me that package with the things, and I open it and it's fun. These little, I got a bunch of little ones. I got to unwrap every one of them every time. It's a pain in the ass.
See, that's where I think you and I differ.
I don't know. Yeah.
I like the smaller ones because I just eat the wrappers. They dissolve in your stomach. It's fine. I like the smaller ones because I get more variety. Like if I buy a bag of like the variety mix, I'm getting like, I can have a little bit of a Snickers bar, a little bit of a Kit Kat, some of the, but I like that.
That's not me.
And I like the portion control. I'm also a guy who will buy
the whole bag though.
The lunch. Well, yes, but it takes me longer to unwrap them. I get bored.
Yeah,
I'll get the smaller bags of chips rather than the family size bag of potato chips because I can just I won't eat an entire bag because I'm a person who won't stop once the fun has started.
Yeah, I think that is definitely the variety thing doesn't appeal. I don't like going from say, like Starburst to Kit Kat bar to like I don't like that mix of textures and flavors. The same way that I don't like to. I'm also a person who's like I don't want to eat dessert until I've had my dinner. I'm very like
you're a 1950s house husband.
But there's like specifically in that it's like a gummy bear and a Reese's cup. I'm like, those are 2 different flavors and textures I don't want in my mouth in the same evening.
Well, a lot of times they won't be in the same bag. Like if you get a bag of the chocolatey stuff and then you get a bag of the gummy
I had a
stuff.
weird one recently that did have both of those in there. So sometimes it happens. There's always one shitty candy in those bags at least. You got to like hunt for where are the ones that has like the 4 good ones.
So we'll just talk. Recently we were at an event where there was a bowl of candy.
We may not even get to the case today, to be honest.
That's fine. We'll just talk about it. Guilty. I don't know. There was a bag of candy that we recently shared at an event that we were at. And going through that was a traditional bag of candy.
Yeah, which I was the candy that I bought. I bought that. I mean, there was other candy provided, but I specifically brought a bag of mixed candy.
Now, out of that bag, there was one that I always kind of avoid, and it's my last-ditch effort to I'll eat something. It's the plain Hershey's bar.
Yeah.
Now, if you watch my other YouTube channel, I think Hershey's the worst chocolate ever.
Wow.
But it is when you're in a mix of there's Reese's Pieces, there's Reese's Cups, there's Hershey's just the plain shit that's an ingredient for the other candy.
Yeah, it's boring. I agree. Hershey's is very boring. Hershey's Kisses are pretty bland.
Yeah.
I had never actually seen mini Reese's Pieces bags. That was a unique one for me.
That was good. I liked that because I'm a big Reese's Pieces fan.
There were some interesting ones in there. I mean, Reese's are always big. But even then, again, I don't like the smaller Reese's. The Kit Kats are good. I mean, I like the smaller Reese's.
I like the smaller Reese's. I like the smaller.
There's different kinds of smallers, though.
I like the tinfoil wrapped ones.
Yes,
those are that's my jam.
Are good. I agree with you.
I like those over the original.
That's I don't know. I can't follow you on that road. But when it's just a cup but smaller, that's not
right.
Just give me. I want the rest of that damn cup.
I get that.
But anyway. Candy,
but I will. So candy wise, I do like the smaller bags better because you get different varieties of stuff that you won't normally eat. Like I'm not going out and getting an Almond Joy bar, like a whole fucking 6-inch Almond Joy bar.
I'm not eating them in the bag either.
I love me an Almond Joy and Mounds. Ooh, I'm an old man.
Those
discussed.
Are the 2. Get them the fuck out of here. No interest.
But those
whatsoever.
are the bags I'll get because I won't eat like a Heath bar unless it's in a miniature
Mr. Good Bar, Crackle.
Right.
They don't exist outside.
So your normal,
go
ahead. So your normal Halloween tradition is just sitting, watching a movie at home.
Yeah.
Maybe eating a Halloween treat
But
getting
I'm with the people in this case. This sounds like they're not doing anything crazy.
right,
They're carving a pumpkin. They're watching scary movies. That sounds like my kind of a Halloween,
right.
for sure.
100%. I love it. It's a good tradition. It's one night a year. And it's usually not. It's not it's not a family holiday, so that's a plus. So you're not having to see your family or anything like that. Oops, excuse me.
You gotta go home to see the folks on Halloween for your Halloween feast.
You have to go
all
have
the
Halloween
cousins.
dinner where there's pumpkin pie, pumpkin soup.
Grandma and Grandpa make their famous s'mores and candied apples.
Yep. Ooh, I love me a caramel apple. Speaking of the fall season.
That's not I don't know if I've ever even had a
Really?
caramel apple. I don't. What do I want a fruit for? Just give me the candy.
Mm.
you know, don't tell me that this is candy. You're disguising fruit at me. Give me the pie and the ice cream, please.
Pie and ice cream.
I can see through your ruse.
But an apple pie? There's fruit in that pie.
Yeah, even then I'm like, just give me a chocolate pie.
A chocolate pie.
Just make it chocolate. Just fill it with pudding. Here's something that we have talked about plenty of times about our horror movies that we like, scary
Yes.
movies. But this one brings up scary games. They also play, I assume, video games. They don't specify.
Oh yeah, I assumed it was scary video games, but I guess they could be scary board games.
Could be like werewolf,
Right.
or something like Mafia or something, I guess, Manhunt. But what are some of your favorite scary video games?
Love me any of the Resident Evils. Just give me the Resident Evils. They are in my opinion, one of the top scary video games. That I
Bold
played.
take. A lot of people will disagree with that.
That they don't think are scary.
No, I'm joking because it's such a
It's a
an obvious
blanket,
choice.
yeah.
It's the most obvious choice.
But I do love. I can't think of any of the names, but like the ones that are kind of typically made for streamers to play. Like some of those, like, oh, you're running in a dark room and then something pops out and scares you. Like those kinds of like very loose-ended games. The original Five Nights at Freddy's was kind of that type of thing. That was basically an ungame game, if you will. But those kinds of like, the jump scares, because I think a jump scare works more on me in a video game than it does in a movie. Now, you being Mr.
Sure.
VR, which is what your tagline,
Oh.
Jonathan S. is Mr. VR.
Damn.
I'm sure you've dealt with more horror movies, horror games in VR that are probably way more scarier than anything.
Yeah, I don't play those games. They're too scary in VR. Half-Life Alyx is not a horror game,
But just scary.
but it is one of the scariest games I've played in virtual reality. Have I done anything else really in VR? I don't
Well,
think
the Resident
so.
Evils you've done.
I did Resident Evil 4 has
Yeah.
a VR mode specifically, and yes, that is scary, but it's also more of an action game.
Right.
So yes,
Now,
there are scary parts of that one.
Have you
though.
played the Five Nights at Freddy's games at all?
No, I think we did a Five Nights at Freddy's case where we talked
They-
about this.
they
I
did-
played the first one a little bit.
Right.
That's all.
They did recently put them all out on VR. So it's like you're sitting in the actual place.
Is it all of them or just is it a new one on VR?
Because I saw somebody playing them, the first one in VR, which I feel like those games were definitely meant for VR. Like you're sitting in one room. That is definitely a VR ready game, in my opinion. But
Yeah, Alien Isolation. I don't think it has an official VR mod, but there's an unofficial one that people really like. That's a very good scary game.
will you
that's
watch your
perfect for that.
horror movies in VR, or is that too much for you?
I mean, I could, but there's not really, unless I'm watching it with someone else, like who's online in VR. There's not really the fidelity's not quite there. I'd still prefer to just watch it on my TV, usually. But I've done it before.
Just because I feel like you're more in a immersed environment than your like living room. Like you can't. Really
there are environments where you can watch it in like a creepy graveyard or something.
because you can't like pull your blanket up or look away because it's like strapped to your face.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah.
That's part of the experience for me in a lot of horror movies is going like this.
Right. Well, that's why like I love
giant
seeing.
pussy.
I love seeing horror. That's frightening for me. I love
know.
seeing a horror movie in movie theaters because there's like places where it's like, oh, I can just look at the corner of the screen because it's a 9,000-foot screen and like still
That's
get.
worse for me because I feel more embarrassed to cover my eyes if other people can see me, so I'll just kind of be like,
Right. Well, usually
Um,
you'll hire me to sit behind you and cover your eyes if you need so.
yeah, because that's nice. That's
Yeah.
comforting.
Hmm.
Yeah, for the Fatal Frame series, I really like for video games. Resident Evil, you mentioned. I don't know what else. I'm not actually that huge of a horror game guy. I like them, but often they are too scary for me.
But I feel like a lot of modern day horror games now are like the ones I was saying, where it's like they're meant for streaming. That's like a whole genre of games to me.
Sometimes,
That's
yeah.
like, oh, this is a 20-minute game I paid 99 cents for. Let me,
Now they have all the ones like the where you explore the back rooms.
I was funny. I was just watching that video. There was a video that somebody put out last week that I was watching. I think it was just
You
called
know
The
about
Back
those
Rooms.
back rooms?
It was
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know the
scary.
lore of it, but it's a fun game where it's just like, oh, it's just things chasing you in like a car park. Like,
Yeah, the back rooms is just it's just a term for they call them liminal spaces, like
yeah.
office buildings or
But I feel like
whatever.
that's what a lot of those games are, especially right now. It's like, oh, those are the games they play on streaming platforms, and they're just running.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a jump
Um,
scare of the game, really.
I'm trying to think of a good Eternal Darkness is like a classic GameCube horror game. Um, there's games that I like that I think are scary that aren't really horror games.
Now, do you have a horror game that you'll keep going back to the month of October, or a horror movie? That you, like,
I'm I'm more about trying something new.
we were
Uh,
discussing that before. I will pick a
mm,
franchise every year
yeah,
and
right. We
go
talked
with
about
it. Either a franchise. It could have been a franchise we've seen many years ago, or like this year we're trying to do the Saw movies. Yeah,
but I might rewatch I don't know, a Nightmare Before Christmas or a
yeah. For
Trick
us,
or
like we
Treat.
saw, one of the AMC's was showing Hocus Pocus, the original, in theaters, so we went and saw that in theaters. We paid money to go see it again.
Money. That's
Money.
what it is. We should talk about this case, I guess.
Eh, nah. So
Their cousin, 16 years old, is the age
right.
of this cousin,
Hmm.
is going to come to this Halloween night. There's a couple of things here because we're not hearing their side of the story. We're only hearing from Rob, and Rob says that he says that the cousin has seen horror movies and likes horror
Right.
movies, so this is not a big deal.
Like 16 is like the age, like 15, 16, 17. Those are your like the classic
It's pretty
horror.
old.
Those are your like a lot of these movies are made for that age.
Well, you're a year before R-rated. Technically,
Right.
you're a year before you're allowed to watch an R-rated movie, but there are still many PG-13 horror movies.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of the games are rated M, so
And people just have them.
that's
Yeah.
something to consider,
But
something to think about.
even like all the 80s movies, the franchise movies from back in the day, they were aimed towards this generation. This
Sure,
age.
they're usually the classic slasher movies. A lot of times they're about teens.
Right.
Even non-slasher movies. A lot of horror movies do tend to be about younger people. I guess every movie tends to be about younger people. So
The
I
older
think
you
that's
get, the more the movies are younger people, Jonathan. That's-
yeah, yeah. But no, it is often, if not high schoolers, college age, or even like young, like in your 20s.
Well, because they're
This is all of
innocent.
Hollywood.
They're out doing stupid things that make their brains mushy. I don't know.
Yeah, that might be. I'm trying to think what are because I'm gonna think of a movie that I think is about adults. That's a horror movie, but it's actually going to be it's from the 70s. That person was actually 20. They just look 40
Well,
now.
any M Night movie, a lot of them are adult people, like Knock in the Woods or whatever that was called, a Knock in the Cabin. They were like they had kids and stuff.
Yeah, but you're
You
saying
know.
it's like adults.
Right. Old.
I mean,
Literally.
yeah, that's true. And Shyamalan's not a bad pull.
Or like the Universal, the classic Universal horror movies. They're all like middle-aged old monster men.
Right. That's true. That's true.
I think you're thinking of like anywhere between like 1978 and like mid 2000s. That stretch of
the like iconic.
I Know
of,
What You
like,
Did Last Summer, Jason,
Halloween,
yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, a lot of times it's teenagers.
Well, it's also a way for them to sell TNA to a certain market too. So you don't want older people with
Gross.
their shirts off. That's not, people don't want that.
Yeah.
Well,
I
some
guess
people want
not.
that. Yeah.
I don't know.
So at the age of 16, I was watching these horror movies, either approved by my parents or not, because I had a TV in my room. I could just go to HBO and watch these horror movies. Like I was definitely, or these even like the Resident Evil games, I was playing at 16. Like I was immersed in horror stuff and stuff that I was probably technically on paper too young for. But 16 is like you're working. You're allowed to legally get a job. You're allowed to like
Right.
do other things that like you're not a kid anymore. I feel like at 16.
I mean, you're still a kid. Let's
Well,
not don't be
you're
careful when you say stuff like that because we can get in trouble.
but you're still a kid until like 25, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, you're definitely a kid, but yeah, well, here's the thing. There's multiple layers of this because there's the issue of
It's like an onion.
is this kid old enough to watch a horror movie? Now we've had a case before where it was like I don't remember how young the kid was. So they made him watch Child's Play, I think, or
Right.
something. But they were like 7 or 8. It was
Right.
I think it was a much different thing.
It was called Child's Play. Come on now.
He's right. But I think both of us agree that 16 is certainly sure. Technically, there's R-rated movies you're not supposed to watch, but
Right.
you're probably safe. A 16-year-old can handle a horror movie.
I
or
would
a
say,
horror video game.
yeah, most things you can, yeah, your brain is still forming and all that jazz, but there are some things you can get away with watching.
You're not going to wake up with nightmares unless you're like truly sheltered or
Well, there's some
have
movies
some other issue.
that still wake me up with nightmares that are
Sure.
out now.
Sure.
Cinderella.
But so there's that, but then there's also just if we kind of accept that on its face of well, this kid, she doesn't want to show him the horror movies for whatever reason. Is that unreasonable to introduce that into their Halloween tradition? And is he unreasonable for saying I don't want to do that?
And it is also like, it's very fun to back this up against last week's case where the cool aunt was letting the kid listen to Slipknot at the age of 4. So, this is 4 versus 16. It depends really on we don't know. Do we know what the movies are? No, right?
No, there's no specifics, but it sounds like, it could be anything. Could be any.
And a lot of these movies, like I was saying before, it depends on the franchise. There is some sexual things. There's some nudity.
Ugh.
There's some,
Ugh.
which you might not want a 16-year-old to see while
Gross.
they're sitting with their older
Not
aunt
unless
and
it's an
uncle.
old
Right,
person
like
in the movie.
75 years older. Yeah. So there is that to take. Like, you don't necessarily have to not watch a horror movie, but maybe not the one you want to watch, or maybe edit something a little bit. Now, it is said in the case files that they have seen horror movies as a 16-year-old.
Well, this is where that is what Rob is telling us. Part of me wonders is because Heather is so adamant that no, we're not showing them to him. Is there something we're not getting? Like maybe she's worried about making the parents mad, or maybe he's seen horror movies but he's not supposed to. So like she still doesn't want to get in trouble.
Are they sneaking away to the horror? Right.
Or maybe he watches horror movies but had some horrible panic attack.
Right. Right. We don't know about the kid. We don't know about the right. Now,
yeah.
The parent, why do we know why the teen, the kid, the child, the youth is going to
That's a
the
great
cousin's
question.
house? Like, why aren't they, like, I don't want to be like, why aren't they out hanging with their friends, or why aren't the parents doing, like, are they babysitting this child? Are they, like, what's going on? Did they just want to hang out with the aunt and uncle for the Halloween night because maybe they know that the teen knows they
Well, I think important to know I could be wrong. I don't know if this is actually on Halloween.
Oh.
I think this is maybe the weekend before.
Oh.
And it's not clear to me because if it was on Halloween, I would think a 16-year-old wants to be with their friends or be trick-or-treating.
And I assumed it was on Halloween because this is our Halloween tradition that we do on Halloween.
Yes, but according to the case file, he says they plan a nice, fun weekend in.
Ooh, interesting. Now, that does change some of my thoughts about this because if it was on Halloween, October 31st, Halloween evening, that only happens once a year. There's no wiggle room around that. But he's doing a day, a weekend, a Saturday, a whatever before Halloween. So technically, they still have time between said weekend and Halloween to potentially change their plans if they wanted to, and I understand that you might not want to. So yeah, so that does make it a different kind of case for me, because like, yeah, they could just, okay, fine, we have your cousin on Saturday, let's move Halloween nights to Sunday. Or the physical night of Halloween or whatever. I just assumed this was on Halloween.
Yeah, what are the exact details of this plan? Is it is this does their tradition take place over 48 hours?
Right.
Is it just one night, and is the cousin going to be with them the whole day? Are they it does seem like a compromise could be made here. Like, hey, we'll carve some pumpkins with the kids and then ship them out, and then we can do something else. Or like you said, we'll do it the day earlier, and then the next day we just watch whatever we want to watch.
Right, because like, yes, yeah. I do. I'm somebody who likes planning, and I have control issues. So like, I understand. It's like, okay, we had this written on the calendar. You and I discussed it. We're doing this on this day. Oh, by the way, they're dropping the kid off because they don't want to deal with the kid. So we're going to take the kid for the weekend. And you're kind of like, oh shit, I don't want to. I would be upset too. Like, I'd be a little perturbed. But you can move stuff around, like you said, do the pumpkin carving, maybe a PG-13 movie and game in the afternoon, and then save your adult stuff for at night.
What's a good PG-13 horror movie?
Ooh, I even like what like I always get like confused
because that is the famously, classically PG-13 horror movies are maligned. People do not. It's usually like they cut corners, they pull punches, and it's for teens to see, and they're kind of shitty.
But I always get confused because like some of these PG-13 movies I'm even looking at now, it's like, ooh, that's borderline PG-13. Like they're saying The Ring.
No, that's got to be R. Is The Ring
PG-13?
PG-13? Well, then that's the best. That's the scariest.
That's the scariest one, because I guess there's no like blood, murder, gold. Like,
oh, I gotta look at these. Yeah, that movie is scary as shit.
Yeah, The Ring, PG-13, 2002.
Wow,
that would probably be the best one. See, that's why I get confused with PG-13, because it's like, oh, you can drop the F-bomb twice, but the second we get somebody delimbed, I'm sorry.
I guess I'll give some good ones. The Quiet Place movies are
Quiet
PG-13.
Place, yep. The Conjuring is PG-13
Really? Oh yeah, is it the first one? Is PG? Is it? How can this?
Nope,
be true?
it's R. It's R.
Okay, okay.
Because there's no way.
This looks official. There's one that came out last year called No One Will Save You. I really love that movie. It's a Hulu movie.
The Grudge.
The first Insidious is PG-13 as well. Interesting. So there's options. If they wanted to do a nice PG-13 acceptable horror movie, there's options.
A lot of M. Night Shyamalan movies are PG-13.
Oh, or you could do some good like
that was a response.
Yeah, I didn't give a shit. Some classic, some kids ones like you could do Nightmare Before Christmas, Paranorman,
the Addams Family movie,
sure, stuff like that. Yeah. Like it doesn't have to be.
If we're gonna go something newer, the Haunted Mansion movie.
Well,
M. Threegan.
M. Threegan is PG-13. Sure.
A Quiet Place, the Five Nights at Freddy movie. Don't see that at all.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not that one. But yeah, it's okay. So there's some options. That's
okay.
Interesting.
Okay.
That's interesting. That's interesting. But yeah, she's Heather's saying no to anything. She says no horror movies.
Saying no horror movies. Now I kind of like, because I want to take a step back and judge these people who I've never met before.
Yeah, well, that's our
maybe
job.
This is something that maybe the Heather doesn't like this yearly tradition, and maybe Rob kind of steamrolls it, and this is a way to the cousin doesn't like what's the cousin's name? We'll call him.
We didn't name the cousin. It might be a female cousin too. I don't know.
We'll say Sam, just to cover all. Sam doesn't like horror movies. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Why don't we have Sam come and spend the weekend? And we can't play any horror movies. Let's go to Target. I don't know.
Heather's the one who's scared. This is her excuse.
Well, maybe not even scared. Maybe just sick of the tradition.
Scared,
sick of
shitless. She can't handle it.
Because I want to know what movies Rob is picking. Maybe he's going like
a
real
Serbian
deep,
film.
right? Real dark and deep. We're watching the director's cut of the Blair Witch Project on VHS or something. Like
Oh, that's you hear that new one's coming out?
they're making a
Not
new
the
one.
new
Huh?
one. No,
Oh.
it's like the original version of the original one that never was actually officially made or released.
Oh, like the cut, the director's cut, let's say, or
Yeah, like it was like they did stuff in editing and with the look of the film that
ooh,
was not how they wanted it to look, and for the first time, it's going to actually be what their vision was.
I still have that on VHS somewhere, like the original copy that I had.
Yeah, you got to watch that in a camcorder. That's the
Right? Yeah,
official
that's
experience.
hmm
um,
On a
yeah,
CRT
yeah,
that's almost dead.
yeah. There's a lot of there's mysteries here. There's questions here. You may have cracked it. You may have hit on something. I
Because
don't
I
know.
don't want to blame, I don't want to blame anybody for like being like no, but it seems like it's, the more we're unpacking, the more it seems like there's a lot of other issues involved, like no horror, so no horror movies, no horror games, but we
Hmm.
can still carve pumpkins. Like it
Hmm.
sounds like she's trying to like family wash this, make it like a Disney Channel Halloween.
I love this conspiracy we've unearthed slash
hmm
invented.
Well, it's a horror movie. You have to dig deeper and find out she's an axe murderer that's kind of hiding her.
You could also do like a classic, like you said, older movies. You could do like
Right.
a Nosferatu or a Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Something. It doesn't have to be scary to be a
Right.
Halloween movie.
Night of the Dead.
Anyway,
Night of the Dead.
Nosferatu is
Whatever. It's
kind of
pretty
scary.
scary. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, where does this leave us?
So
It's
it boils down to, you know, I'm a fan of traditions. I like doing things the same every year, but sometimes traditions.
ooh, don't let them watch Fiddler on the Roof. The Holocaust is some of the scariest shit you can
True.
see.
True. Rip.
Rip to the 6 million Jews. All right, let's move on.
The roof.
Okay,
Um,
right,
and the
right.
fiddler. So
Mm.
you have to break down. I forgot what you kind of broke my train of
Yeah,
thought.
I
Whenever
don't
you
know
bring
what
up
it
the
was.
Holocaust, that just kills my
Well,
brain.
don't be careful if there's just thoughts on that train too.
Mm.
We are talking about traditions. That's how
Mm.
we got to Fiddler on
So
the Roof.
I do believe in traditions.
You want us to give a verdict? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't.
Let's
Yeah,
just
I don't
so
know.
so yeah. I don't verdicts. I don't. Rob's not guilty.
Okay.
This is something that
Oh.
Rob has been trying to do. Like he's been doing this for years. I'm sure this isn't something that he just sprung on Heather. This is something that Heather's lived with for at least 2 years for a tradition to be a thing. And it doesn't sound like it's like, oh, we're going to do something wild and crazy. We're not, staying up all night watching awful movies and stuff like that. No, it's
Human Centipede.
right. And that's a family. That's PG-13. I know it. Don't fact check me. But and it just kind of seems like Heather is throwing a wrench into this and being like, listen, we're just changing all of your plans because my cousin's coming over, and for some reason the 16-year-old can't watch any horror movies or any video games. So just no, we're not doing this anymore. And it just kind of sounds like it's kind of shitty on Heather to just spring this on him. Like I said, unless there's like a family, like they didn't mention it was like somebody's in a hospital or somebody, like it's not like we need to watch this person.
Mhm.
This person's 16 years old, and I'm assuming knows what they do kind of on this weekend. So yeah, Rob's not guilty. Let the man have his weekends.
Let him have the weekend.
That'd be a good horror movie. The Gavel. So judges just coming after you and hitting you with gavels.
Okay.
It'd be one of the Blumhouse ones that they hide away.
Hmm. I don't disagree with what you said. My first reaction to this is to say, I think along the same lines as you. Yeah, this kid's old enough. It's a tradition they have every year. Let the man have his fun. It's like what are you gonna do? You have an annual Christmas party, and this year you say, yeah, we're inviting a Jewish fella, so no Christmas movies. They don't like them. That
I've
wouldn't
heard
be
that.
any good. would
That's
it?
a true fact that I've heard.
That happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
All the time, especially
Do
since
you
Fiddler on the Roof came
do you
out.
want to come over to my Christmas party, please? For the love of God.
Not if you're watching Christmas movies.
That'll be a good thing. Yeah. Only Fiddler.
However, I do think we've raised some interesting counterpoints. I feel like there's there seems to be a refusal to compromise on both sides here. Because Rob could just say, well, why don't we just have them over another night and do it this different night or however we do it, Halloween, whatever. But Heather could also do the same thing and say, well, what if we just had the cousin over this night and you that night or whatever? I wish it was more specific. I wish I could be 100% if it was on Halloween night
Right.
or pre. Because maybe, I don't know, maybe this kid's a loser and they have no friends and that's why they're with them on Halloween. And it's like, because that would make more sense to me.
Right.
Because like you said, you can't move Halloween. So if it was, that's the night and this kid has nowhere else to go, so we have to bring him in. And I'm more sympathetic to that side in that case.
Or maybe the kid got in trouble last year and they want him to not be out with his juvenile delinquent friends.
Maybe that's it. So honestly, I feel like both sides have made mistakes, and B, I think I need more. I think there's not enough information here for me to make a full decision. I feel like I have to, as a judge, call this one as a mistrial for
now,
me.
Before you hit that gavel, would it not make you upset if somebody you had plans that you had traditions every year and somebody just threw a cog in it, but wrench in the cog in the wrench?
Again, it's too. I need to know more about the situation because is it always on Halloween night that I always do it? Because if it's the weekend leading up to it, then it's like
you're right.
It's a weekend.
I'm trying to sway you.
Yeah, I really feel like I'm if I had to pick a side, I probably would say not guilty too.
Right.
But then I just say to myself, but like, just do it a different day, though. Right. Like you have the whole.
No,
as far
as
I'm concerned, the whole month leading up to it, you could be doing this stuff. It's not like. I don't know. I just feel like there's too much area for compromise. I think both parties need to be punished.
Okay, no, I'll take that one too. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So we have 3 punishments.
That's right.
The kid's getting punished too. Why not?
I think so.
I think the punishment is probably for the kid is they have to spend the weekend with aunt.
Yeah, that
uncle.
sounds like it sucks.
Yeah, think about that. Would you want to spend a Halloween weekend with your aunt and uncle?
Well, I don't know. There's no way this kid's staying with them the whole weekend. It's got to be just a night, right? What kid is?
And if it is Halloween, would you want to spend?
It's a cousin. It's not an aunt. It's just a cousin.
Oh, it is a cousin. Yeah, I don't know why I assumed aunt and uncle, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. We don't know how old the other people are in the case.
17 and 18.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They actually all live in the same household.
Yeah. It's a Brady Bunch situation. It's Cousin Oliver.
Right. Ugh.
Okay. So we need to punish all sides here. I guess you can punish the Heather.
Oh, the Heathers. That's probably a good movie to watch too.
Yeah, that's
borderline. Okay. So Heather. Did you say Heather's borderline? She might be. She has to work at a haunted house for a weekend. She has to immerse her because she might not like horror movies and haunted movies. Maybe that's why she's doing this. You don't have to cry. It's not that bad of a thing.
I'm crying.
For people watching at home, he's rubbing his eyes
and
just
sad.
Sadness. She has to go work inside of a haunted house. She has to be a person that screams at kids in the face the entire weekend.
Okay. She might have fun with that. I don't know if that's that bad of a punishment. Can we add and she gets shot in the knee or something?
Okay, fine. She gets shot in the knee.
Okay.
And people think, oh, it's part of the thing. But nope, she's in agony.
Yeah. They won't help her. That's good. That's good. Now,
shot in the knee.
Rob shot in both knees. Rob has to spend Halloween night proper watching Christmas movies.
Oh, see, I was going to say one step further. He has to go to church. He has to be at a church.
He has to go to church. Yeah, he has to repent for taking part in these pagan rituals. Yeah. And the cousin, the unnamed cousin, Sam, Sam of neither gender.
It's just hardcore VR, just angry horror movies.
But if they do like that, then they might have fun. I think Sam's got to go for Halloween. They get a bucket full of raisins and And like, what's the worst? Like a little like fruit snack, like not fruit snacks,
Apples.
like sliced apples,
Sliced
in a
apples and
bag.
peanut butter
and
and
raisins,
raisins. Loose. All loose.
all loose. Just
All
a handful of
loose.
peanut butter. Just chuck it in there, and they got to eat it all. They got to eat it
Still,
all.
still in the same vein, my favorite joke from Family Guy is the mayor, who was Adam West, came up
Sure.
for Halloween. You come to his door and you get a Cornish game hen and gravy poured in your Halloween bucket.
That's pretty good.
That is good. Or
not bad
popcorn,
at all.
a popcorn ball. Have you ever gotten one of those? That's weird.
Ugh, no, that's just I don't want that.
An old lady chocolate chip cookie just on a plate. Here you go.
Yeah.
We used to have a guy in my neighborhood who used to work for either Coke or Pepsi, and every year he would give out like a themed yearly, like a cup with a bottle of or a can of Coca-Cola in it and a piece of candy on top. And that was your thing because he got like
Wow.
goodie bags from like the company. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Mr. Coca-Cola.
It was Johnny
Was
Coke.
he a big polar bear?
Yep.
That's cool.
yeah.
That's cool.
Mhm.
Well, folks, this was I don't know. For me, this was a tricky one.
Or a
Maybe you
treaty
can
one?
help set things, help settle things for us. You can email us, geeksontrial@gmail.com, or comment if you're watching on YouTube. Let us know what you think of this case. What are your verdicts? And what are your Halloween traditions? What are you going to do, or what did you do if you're watching this post-Halloween in terms of your pumpkins, your movies, your video games, your candy preferences? Let us know. You can also submit your own geeky case, whether it be about some holiday dispute or some other geeky subculture. We got a form down there. You can fill that out and send it to us, and we'll settle it for you right here on the show.
And hey, I'm trying something new over on the YouTube communities over at youtube.com/@geeksontrial. After every show, I'm asking you what you think your case and your verdict would be. Your verdict would be in a little poll over there in our community. So head on over to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@geeksontrial. And yeah, you don't have to watch the video for that, but we greatly appreciate it.
Can I vote in
It's a
it?
separate, multiple times actually. If you've learned anything from the U.S. election, you can vote early, vote often. But if you want to help us fill our trick-or-treat buckets this Halloween season, head on over to patreon.com/geeksontrial. That's where you can gain early access to both our audio and video episodes, plus our show that is no longer brand new, but I'm still going to keep calling it our brand new show until somebody starts watching the damn thing. Geeks on Trial Sidebar, it's where we take our robes off. It's spooky over there. We spin a wheel. We have a great discussion, and we're just nude. Will that help if we just tell you, we lie to you and
You
say
know
we're
we're a
nude?
week away from election results.
I know.
Isn't that messed up?
I'm scared.
So busy
So-
thinking about Halloween.
That's how they trick
Anyway.
us. That's how they trick us. So, in a couple weeks, Geeks on Trial might be from Canada. We don't know what's going to happen. We might just leave.
Next week we'll be filming before people will be watching next week's episode after the results, but before we know what the results are.
Yeah, the day after.
So we'll be.
So yeah, get out.
We
and
should
vote.
record during. We should record it right.
Oh, that
as
would be
the
a
results are
live thing
coming
over
in.
at Patreon. That'll be.
Okay.
You guys watch us have heart attacks. That's patreon.com/geeks on trial. Hey, Jonathan, when you're not trying to figure out what country you want to move to next after these impending doom election, where can people find you on the old net?
Please follow me over at my website, jonathanessis.com. I have another podcast called The Yerky Boys, and it's a good time to jump in over there because we just finished reading the Animorphs books, and we just have started the Animorphs TV show.
Ooh.
So if you are not a reader, but you like to watch things with your eyes, then this is maybe a jumping on point for you to check out. Find that wherever podcasts are sold. Ivan, what about you?
I'm also starting a show called The Yerky Boys. It's the same kind of show. I'm just copying and just pasting.
Confusing.
It's
Okay.
very... No, but you can head on over to youtube.com/thesnackguy. Watch me review snacks, candies, treats of all kinds. And head on over to my website, ivanhan.com, for all my other photography and video-y stuff like that. And hey, until next time, I'm Ivan Hahn.
Oh,
really?
Jonathan.
Right
That's
now
just-
is where you decide to yawn?
I'm just going to take a little nap.
Oh, okay. Well, happy?
Until next time, everyone. This case has been closed, bitch. That's Freddy.